They called her just a cargo pilot and laughed when she volunteered for the B-2 Spirit nuclear mission. The elite stealth bomber crew at Whiteman Air Force Base thought some transport jockey couldn't handle the world's most classified aircraft until North Korean air defenses locked onto their exact position during the deepest penetration mission in Air Force history. And suddenly, everyone realized the trash hauler had more strategic stealth experience than anyone alive. The Missouri countryside stretched endlessly beyond the razor wire perimeter of Whiteman Air Force Base as Major Rachel Kim walked across the most secure flight line in America toward the most expensive aircraft ever built. The B-2 Spirit sat in its climate-controlled hangar like a mechanical ghost, its triangular stealth design representing $2 billion of the most advanced aerospace technology on Earth. To the elite bomber crew preparing for their next strategic penetration mission, she was just another pilot from the transport squadron, someone who flew cargo planes while they carried the responsibility of America's most devastating nuclear weapons. At 33 years old, with Korean-American features and the quiet confidence of someone who'd spent years handling classified information beyond most people's security clearance, Rachel looked unremarkable among the hand-picked pilots of the 509th Bomb Wing. She wore standard flight gear with minimal patches, her understated appearance designed to maintain the cover story that kept her actual mission history buried in the deepest levels of strategic nuclear classification. What the B-2 crew didn't know was that Rachel had been flying classified stealth penetration missions for the past 9 years, conducting some of the most sensitive reconnaissance and nuclear readiness operations in Air Force history. Her logbook contained over 1,400 hours in various stealth platforms, including 127 deep penetration flights into hostile airspace where detection would have triggered international incidents or nuclear warfare. Her assignment to transport duties was cover for continued classified operations that tested America's ability to deliver nuclear weapons undetected anywhere in the world. The morning briefing called for a strategic penetration exercise against simulated North Korean air defenses, where the B-2 would test its ability to reach high-value targets deep inside enemy territory without detection. The mission would simulate nuclear weapon delivery under the most challenging conditions, requiring perfect coordination between stealth technology, navigation precision, and crew performance under extreme stress. Colonel Mark Stevens commanded the mission, a veteran strategic bomber pilot with over 900 hours in the B-2 who'd flown nuclear deterrence missions throughout his career. His co-pilot, Major Anderson, had considerable experience in stealth operations and strategic nuclear procedures. Both were among the most elite pilots in the Air Force, selected for B-2 operations through the most rigorous screening process in military aviation. But the mission was facing complications that threatened both operational security and strategic effectiveness. Intelligence reports indicated that enemy air defense systems were becoming increasingly sophisticated, and the penetration route would test B-2 stealth capabilities against the most advanced surface-to-air missiles and radar systems that hostile nations could deploy. "We need an additional pilot for this mission," Stevens told the squadron operations officer. "The complexity requires maximum crew redundancy for nuclear simulation exercises." Rachel, who'd been monitoring the discussion while reviewing transport schedules, stepped forward. "Colonel, I'm qualified in the B-2 and available for the mission." Stevens stared at her with obvious disbelief. "Kim, you're a transport pilot. The B-2 isn't a cargo hauler. It's the most advanced strategic nuclear platform ever built, requiring years of specialized training." Rachel pulled out her certification records, showing current qualification in all B-2 systems and nuclear procedures. "Sir, I maintain currency in strategic bomber operations. I'm fully qualified for nuclear mission profiles." The operations officer verified her credentials with surprise that quickly turned to confusion. "She's right, Stevens. Her records show complete B-2 qualification, though I'm not sure why a transport pilot would need stealth bomber certification." Stevens reluctantly agreed to include Rachel in the crew, primarily because the mission's sensitivity required maximum pilot capability. "Fine, but you'll be observer only. Strategic nuclear operations require experience that transport flying doesn't provide." 4 hours later, the B-2 Spirit rolled out of its hangar and began the most complex pre-flight procedures in military aviation. The stealth bomber systems required precise calibration of radar-absorbing materials, electronic warfare equipment, and navigation systems that would guide it through the most heavily defended airspace in simulated enemy territory. Rachel settled into the cockpit with familiarity that surprised the regular crew members. Her hands moved across stealth system controls and nuclear weapon interfaces with unconscious precision that came from years of actual classified operations. The B-2's advanced technology felt natural to her, despite months of flying only conventional transport aircraft. Ghost Rider, this is Whiteman Control. You are cleared for strategic penetration exercise. Simulated enemy air defenses are active throughout your route. Stevens acknowledged while beginning the complex process of configuring the B-2 for maximum stealth effectiveness. The bomber would fly at 50,000 feet for 8 hours, penetrating simulated North Korean air defenses that represented the most sophisticated threats that hostile nations could deploy against American strategic forces. Rachel was already analyzing defensive systems and penetration routes using techniques she'd perfected during years of actual nuclear mission planning. Her understanding of stealth technology went far beyond what transport pilots would learn, based on extensive experience with platforms and operations that officially didn't exist. Ghost Rider, be advised that simulated enemy air defenses include advanced integrated systems with overlapping radar coverage. Maintain maximum stealth protocols throughout penetration phase. Stevens acknowledged while monitoring his radar warning systems, which showed clear airspace according to the B-2's sophisticated defensive displays. The stealth bomber's technology was designed to remain invisible to even the most advanced enemy detection systems. But Rachel immediately recognized subtle indications that suggested the exercise was testing capabilities beyond normal training scenario. Years of classified operations had taught her to read electronic signatures that indicated enemy systems were performing better than intelligence estimates predicted. Ghost Rider, recommend altitude adjustment to 47,000 feet and course deviation of 15 degrees. Current atmospheric conditions may be affecting stealth effectiveness. Stevens checked his navigation systems, seeing nothing unusual in their flight profile. Kim, we're following the planned penetration route. Our stealth systems are performing within normal parameters. Rachel had already identified specific atmospheric and electronic conditions that could compromise B-2 stealth effectiveness against the most advanced enemy radar systems. Her experience with actual nuclear penetration missions told her that the exercise was testing scenarios where traditional stealth assumptions might not provide adequate protection. Ghost Rider, enemy radar systems are achieving intermittent detection. Their performance exceeds intelligence estimates. Recommend immediate defensive maneuvering. Kim, all our systems show full stealth effectiveness. You're seeing false readings. But Rachel's analysis proved accurate 30 minutes later, when simulated North Korean air defense systems achieved multiple radar locks on the B-2, indicating that the stealth bomber had been detected and tracked throughout its penetration attempt. The exercise controllers were testing scenarios where enemy technology had evolved beyond American countermeasures. Ghost Rider, you are being tracked by multiple enemy radar systems. How is this possible with full stealth configuration? Rachel was already implementing electronic warfare techniques that she'd learned during classified operations, testing B-2 survivability against advanced threats. Ghost Rider, execute immediate altitude and course changes while implementing enhanced electronic countermeasures. I can guide us through the detection gaps. The defensive flying that followed demonstrated the deadly complexity of strategic nuclear operations, where stealth technology, electronic warfare, and pilot expertise combined to determine mission success or catastrophic failure. Rachel's guidance proved essential for maintaining the B-2's penetration capability while accomplishing the nuclear simulation objectives. Ghost Rider, excellent defensive maneuvering. You have successfully evaded enemy detection and reached the target area. After landing at Whiteman, Stevens approached Rachel with questions that had been building throughout the 8-hour mission. Kim, how did you know exactly how to counter those advanced radar systems? That level of stealth expertise doesn't come from transport flying. Rachel secured the classified systems and gathered her equipment before answering. Colonel, strategic bomber operations require understanding stealth technology and enemy capabilities beyond basic flying skills. But you understood electronic warfare and penetration tactics that aren't covered in standard training. That knowledge only comes from actual strategic nuclear operations. For the first time, Rachel's transport pilot cover story began to crack under scrutiny. Sir, some assignments require capabilities that extend beyond official job descriptions. Strategic nuclear deterrence depends on personnel who understand all aspects of stealth operations. Stevens realized he was discovering something that had been hidden from most of the Air Force. You're not just a transport pilot, are you? Colonel, some operations require people who can fulfill multiple roles when national security demands specialized expertise. What matters is that the mission succeeded and America's nuclear deterrence capability was validated. The mission debrief revealed that Rachel had identified and countered advanced enemy detection systems that had surprised the exercise controllers. Her electronic warfare techniques had allowed the B-2 to complete its nuclear simulation despite facing threats beyond normal training scenarios. Word of the operation spread quietly through the strategic nuclear community at Whiteman. The story of the transport pilot who'd saved a B-2 nuclear mission became classified study material for America's most sensitive military operations. The next week, Stevens specifically requested Rachel for all strategic penetration exercises. Her understanding of advanced stealth operations and electronic warfare proved invaluable for testing B-2 capabilities against evolving enemy threats. But Rachel never revealed the full scope of her nuclear mission background. She understood that strategic nuclear operations remained among the most classified activities in the military, and that her transport cover provided perfect explanation for expertise that actually came from years of testing America's nuclear deterrence capabilities. During briefings for new B-2 crews, she would often remind them that strategic nuclear operations required understanding threats that conventional training couldn't anticipate. The B-2 can deliver nuclear weapons anywhere in the world, she would tell them, but only if the crew understands that enemy capabilities are constantly evolving beyond our intelligence estimates. Months later, when international tensions escalated toward potential nuclear confrontation, American strategic bomber operations relied heavily on penetration techniques that Rachel had developed during her classified nuclear testing career. Her understanding of advanced stealth technology and enemy countermeasures proved critical for maintaining America's nuclear deterrence credibility. Years later, B-2 crews throughout the strategic nuclear force would credit Rachel with revolutionizing their understanding of stealth survivability against advanced threats. They learned that nuclear deterrence required expertise that went beyond official training programs, and that some of the most critical knowledge belonged to people whose full capabilities couldn't be acknowledged for national security reasons. The B-2 Spirit continued to serve as America's premier strategic nuclear delivery platform, flown by crews who understood that their mission success depended on supporting personnel whose expertise transcended traditional military role boundaries. Rachel's contributions to strategic nuclear operations remained deeply classified for decades, but her influence on stealth bomber tactics ensured that American nuclear deterrence capabilities evolved to meet threats that enemies hoped would remain undetected. She had chosen national security over recognition, understanding that the most important nuclear missions were often flown by people whose expertise had to remain invisible to enemies who were constantly working to defeat America's most critical strategic capabilities.